Hi, everybody.
Welcome. This is
6
6 Feet
Feet
Unfiltered.
Unfiltered, Season 2,
You-
Episode 6. So, before we start the episode, literally the last time that we recorded was 2 days after Renee Good was murdered in Minneapolis. Since then, so it has now been about a little bit over a month. It's February 11th, which is insane to me. I cannot believe the last
January was
month.
the longest month ever.
I can't even believe I can't even speak. The last month has been the craziest, most horrific and weird and out of body experience. And that is like literally everybody in the entire United States, I feel. So, especially if
And
you're in
we're literally in
Minneapolis,
the heart of
that
it. Yes.
yeah. But like everyone is like super fucked up right now. And then the closer you get to Minneapolis, the more fucked up you feel, I feel. But yeah, since our last recording, ICE has
We've been
murdered
out
another
protesting.
person. Alex Preddy, rest in peace. He was still alive the last time that we recorded an episode. Isn't that crazy?
Yep. Yep. It
And
was a week later.
now, yep. So we're mourning another death on our streets at the hands of the federal government, which is fucked up and crazy.
If that doesn't
And
scare you, I don't know what to tell you.
seriously, uh, something I was thinking about in connection to our niche here on our podcast is Minneapolis. Well, honestly, like I said, United States as a whole, but Minneapolis specifically right now on another level is going through like grief, like this show, we're going through our own
Mm-hmm.
grief journey as a city, like grieving the lives of these people citizens, neighbors of ours who were murdered on the streets, all of the immigrants who have been horrifically kidnapped and sent out of state or brutalized otherwise and terrorized. Minneapolis is gonna be going through it for a while, and it fucking sucks right now. And I just feel so much pain and sadness and but also community and care for our community. But yeah, it's just obviously necessary to talk about it because holy shit, yeah.
Feels like I feel like I'm being gaslit, like the actual real definition of gaslighting, because there is so much going on where people are actively trying to tell us that what we're experiencing isn't real. And I want you to know that it is very real. We are here in Minneapolis scared. Scared. It is insane. And the amount of backlash that is coming from opposing sides to this, I don't understand how there is even an oppositional side. It is
No,
blowing my
it's
mind. That alone
disgusting.
is like,
Especially while simultaneously the fucking Epstein files are like running rampant anytime you open your phone, naming our president. And so the people who are like
you
supportive of
can't even
ICE
make
are
this shit up.
for that shit. It's insane. It's insane. If you support any of that shit, you're fucking insane. Seriously.
Mm-hmm. You are part of a cult and you need to really reevaluate your surroundings.
And I've always thought that, but this last month has been real
One ever.
affirming. Yeah, yeah. Crazy.
I saw
Just
a meme the other day
absolutely
that
insane.
said, February, you better get your shit together because the bar is literally on the floor.
Yeah.
And
The bar is in
it
hell.
is. It's in hell. Oh my God. Yeah, it is. It's in hell.
But yeah, so
Moving on.
shit's fucked over here. Yeah. Next thing, I wanted to give another shout out to our best friend, Sprague Graydon, because she not only follows us on Instagram, like I mentioned in our last episode, but I made a post about that, about her following us. And she liked it and commented. So that was awesome. Shout out Sprague. We love you.
You're pretty much
Once again.
famous now, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hang
But
out soon. You definitely
also,
get a hold of us.
she has been very outspoken against this whole fucked up shit fuck situation in the United States and is very outspoken about that, which I think is super
We
awesome.
appreciate
And
even
she's
more.
just a great person and super fun. Yeah. So there's that. Okay, okay. Today, we're diving into 6 Feet Under Season 2, Episode 6, In Place of Anger. And buckle up because this one is simmering. We've got a yacht party death that is giving corporate booze cruise energy, but the real mess starts after the body hits the water. Nate and Brenda are freshly re engaged and very much back in their flirty, horny, semi literate fuck machine era. But underneath the pancakes and proposals, something feels off. Brenda's writing is getting darker. Nate's still lying about his ABM, and that dream sequence, yeah, we're unpacking it. Meanwhile, Aunt Sarah blows into town like a barefoot tarot reading hurricane and cracks open decades of resentment between her and Ruth. We get one of the most vulnerable sister confrontations of the series so far: fun versus duty, freedom versus responsibility, and what it actually costs to be the good one. Claire finally feels seen as an artist. David breaks Sweet Ben's heart because we all know he's still in love with Keith. Rico's house is literally rotting from the inside out. And Mitzi whisks the Fisher boys away on a Kroner bride fest that turns into a hot tub showdown. And then there's the Collins widow, whose final moment with her husband's body flips this episode on its head and reminds us that not every grieving spouse is grieving the same way. This
Yep.
one's about anger, repression, jealousy, ambition, and what happens when you finally say the quiet part out loud. Let's get into it.
You know, I've always been very good at saying the quiet part out loud. I will give myself the credit for that.
You
Oops.
have.
Okay, so we open this episode of 6 Feet Under with corporate morale at an all time low and blood alcohol at an all time high. Oh, I love it. A group of office workers are throwing what feels like a last ditch yacht party, champagne flowing, forced laughter, the looming threat of bankruptcy hanging in the salty air. One guy is mid flirt trying to salvage at least one good thing from a sinking company when in stums Matthew Collins. Matthew is drunk, loud, bitter, the human embodiment of a hostile takeover. He interrupts the flirtation to rant about the company's going under, how everything's doomed, how no one seems to grasp the gravity of it all. He insults them, spirals a little, and then eventually they leave him alone on the deck with his feelings and his bottle. And because this is 6 feet under, the bottle goes overboard. Matthew watches it disappear into the dark water, and in that moment, that is both deeply symbolic and incredibly stupid, he tries to grab it. He lunges, he slips, and just like that, the man who couldn't stop talking about the company going under goes the fuck under. No dramatic rescue, no final monologue, just cold water, too much liquor, and the quiet reality that sometimes ego, grief, and bad footing are a lethal combination. It's absurd. It's a little poetic, and it's very, very 6 feet under.
I thought this was giving Booze Cruise episode of The Office. Did you watch The Office?
Yes, I did. That is so true.
It
It
just
kind of was. It
reminded
was
me of
kind of
that.
cringy like that too.
Yes. And I was like, this is like or it wasn't even Jim and Pam. Jim was on a date with Amy Adams in that episode, I remember.
Mm.
I feel really bad for that character in that episode when I think about that, actually. But anyway, that's what I was thinking of. But obviously, no one died in The Office episode.
No, it would have been a different episode for sure. I felt so okay. So when he says the dude, the flirty guy was talking to the girl, he's like, it was intimidating. You're very intimidating. When she asked why he hasn't come onto her or something yet, and I was like, yeah, motherfucker, like she is intimidating. Watch yourself. And good for her for being intimidating because fuck all that other shit.
I love that you even picked that up. I didn't even notice that's what they were saying.
Oh yeah, it was like bread on butter for me. So good.
Uh, I wrote Welp, Man Overboard, Rust in Peace, Matthew Keith Collins. Okay. And then we are with Nate and Brenda. And I wrote as well, I think I've said this before, but I fucking love Brenda's light fixture in her living room. I want it so bad for my own house. And I just wanted to point that out, but okay. So Nate and Brenda have apparently broken out of their ebb and are back in the flow. Nate comes flying out of the bedroom to greet Brenda, who's sitting at the kitchen counter with her laptop working on her book, and they're being super loving and flirtatious with each other, which I thought was so freaking adorable. I'm dying, I wrote down. and referencing the fact that they clearly just had sex the night before. So when Brenda gets up to make Nate coffee, he peeks at her writing and makes a comment about it being kind of racy. And she quickly shuts the laptop on him, and Nate asks when he gets to read it and asks about who Christina is because he must have read that when he looked at it. And he says, "Is that like your fictional alter ego?" And Brenda replies, "She's more like my Humbert Humbert," which is a Lolita reference, which I'm have you ever read that? It's fucked up. I'm assuming you probably haven't read it, and I read it
Nope.
once and I don't recommend it. But it's also all over the fucking Epstein files because those fucking pervert pedophiles were obsessed with that book because it's about a fucking pedophile. But anyway, I
Okay,
noted
I'm
that
definitely reading it.
just you trust me, just look up what it's about. It's so fucking long. It gets so much praise for like the writing, who the fuck Nabokov, I think, who wrote it, but it's disgusting. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. But yeah,
Okay.
look, I mean, whatever. But anyway, that's who you said. She's like more like my Humbert Humbert, which is the pedophile in Lolita. And I was like, gross, Brenda. But that's also we're highly sensitive to that type of reference right now, and this was very on par for Brenda's humor, and especially, I mean, it's also a classic book, so it's like not that crazy to reference it like that. But in my head, especially with all this Epstein shit going on, I was just like, ew,
Oh my God.
so weird.
That's weird timing that
But
we're like even getting to this episode at this moment in time because
I know,
okay.
right?
What else you
I
got
know,
for
super
me?
weird. So she goes on, blah blah blah, but I just wanted to know the scene she's referencing, and then he's not getting any of these literary references, and finally she's like my Hermione in Harry Potter or something, and then Nate is like, because every
I am
time she would
so
look at him, he
Nate.
was just staring at her. Yes, and
I would
then
have been
he's
like,
like,
oh, duh.
right? It's yes. And he's like, what would you rather have? Some overly educated gas bag like Trevor or a semi-literate fuck machine like me? Come on. And I thought that was super funny and cute and very on par for both of them. And Brenda's like, what did she say? No brainer, no pun
Oh,
intended.
yep, 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 yep.
So funny.
I vote for
But then,
the fuck machine for sure. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't need
always.
you to be a Trevor. I take Nate.
Yeah, I really don't care if you're like how, I mean, be educated enough, but
Some
like
sort of
also
intelligence is great, but
Nate's fine. Like I definitely choose Nate over Trevor. So I feel like it just has to be the right balance of things, you know.
yeah.
Um, but also Nate could use some work in some area.
Can't we all?
Um, that's true. Then right after that like funny comment between them, Nate gives Brenda a ring and formally asks her to marry him. And he tells her he loves her and she says good. And then Nate tells her he wants to announce it to his family at dinner, and Brenda is not excited about that and keeps trying to avoid the topic and situation and distracts him with sex and pancakes, which works.
Solid. Works for me.
So the next scene we see David and Ben getting ready for work in David's apartment, and Ben tells David he wants him to stay at his house, and David agrees, and they have a cute little moment together, and Ben tells him he never thought he'd call him back after the second date, and then they kiss.
And
And he
David
must have
says,
said,
"Who's?" Yeah, I forgot now too that why didn't I put more reference to it? Because I'm so ADHD. It's not even funny. David just said, "Who said I'm a good guy?" And I laughed at it. I don't know why.
well, I think you're right. They were having like a little moment where it was kind of like they were really
It was a
showing how
flirty
innocent
thing.
Ben was. It was flirty between them, but it was also showing that David was kind of like, I don't know, being a little coy with him, I guess. And probably said
Mm-hmm.
like who said I'm a good guy or something like that, which is kind of foreshadowing, so I like how you even noted that and I didn't even pick that up. But that's also why I try to put so much in so that we can keep track of where we are in the episode because your notes are just like random blurbs of what they said, which is perfect. But
That's because I am ADHD. I don't have time to sit and write a blurb. Like, yeah, if you
I
guys
know.
saw our notes difference, it would be you would know what we're talking. Clearly, my brain is thump, 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 and Chloe's just well thought out. And are you an S? What's your Myers Briggs?
I'm an SJ, but I might have changed. I feel like people change. I took that in like
Huh.
high school.
Okay, yeah, you absolutely have to take it again. I've changed. It doesn't change a lot, but I'm an ENFJ,
Oh, well,
borderline
we
a
would be the
P.
same then, except for that actually makes a lot of sense because I'm definitely an I, you're definitely an E, but we have a lot of other things in common. So
Uh
it makes
huh.
sense if we're that.
I think you're a lot
Okay,
more
well,
sensing than I am, though. I'd be curious. You should. We should both take it again. I haven't taken it in a few years.
okay. Yeah, I
Next to
love that
homework
shit.
assignment.
Yeah, comment your Myers-Briggs personality type
Yeah.
below.
Any other ENFJs out there?
Yeah. Okay. So then we see Claire coming downstairs to the kitchen to see Nikolai at the breakfast table in his robe and Ruth cooking breakfast. And she says, "Good morning, dear." And Claire is like, "Apparently."
I actually forgot about Nikolai for like a hot minute. I know it's been a while since we got back into watching this, but he's in his robe. He's
I
literally
know.
sitting there in his robe like he lives there.
Yeah. And they probably didn't even know he was there. So I feel like valid reaction for them to be a little grossed out by it. I mean, I probably would be. And also, it's Nikolai. He's like
So
kind
weird.
of a obtrusive presence.
That's kind of.
So then David walks in too, looking just as confused as Claire did, and Nikolai says, "Now this is good, all together for breakfast." Ha 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 ha. And David says, "Well, I see it's good neighbor day at the Fisher house." And Ruth asks about Ben because she saw him leaving, and David and Claire exchange judgmental looks when Nikolai agrees with Ruth that he would like to meet Ben because they're like, "Oh, you should have had him come in for breakfast." And David changes the subject by asking where Nate is. And we learn that Nate has requested everyone be there for dinner that evening because he has something important to tell them. So obviously, he's going to announce that's when him and Brenda are going to announce that they're engaged. And I said, "Yay for another family dinner." And Nikolai's very excited. He loved the last
So
one.
I want to note here when Ruth says that whatever about the dinner and he has something big to tell them, you can see Claire and David look at each other. They exchange a glance. And it's almost like, oh my God, I wonder if he's going to tell them about the AVM. Like, I think that that's what their brain thinks is going to happen.
Yeah. I never thought about that because you're right. Claire doesn't, but does she know what it is? Because she was with him when he had the seizure in Seattle. But did he tell her, like,
She just knows
either way,
something
she
bad
could,
is happening.
yeah, there's something. She just doesn't, he didn't like sit her down like he sat David down, but she witnessed that. So you're so right. They probably were thinking, and they're not expecting it to be that they're going to get married because that's so not either of them. It's not Nate or Brenda, or not like
Hmm.
them. And we're pretty sure that Brenda just proposed to Nate to have that as like writing material, which is fucked up. But
Or distract her from something else that's going on. Because I can't remember what else is going on with her, but there's a lot of shit. And I think that she's also looking for some sort of distraction.
yeah, agreed. Yeah, what is going on with Brenda? She's like
Billy,
going through this weird, yeah, like Billy's all fucked up, and then her parents are like getting a divorce, I think, because of that affair, and they had all that fucked up shit happen, and she's just like spiraling because I think is Billy still institutionalized,
yeah,
probably.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what really triggered her was when they institutionalized Billy, I think is what it was.
She needed another
Um,
purpose. So she's going
oh
crazy because she doesn't
God.
have her purpose right now.
Yes. Ugh, okay. So then the next scene, we see Nate and David doing the intake for our death scene character, Matthew, with his widow. She's in distress and explains they've been together for nearly 20 years since she was 20 years old, and she lights a cigarette inside, and they ask her to put it out. And so then we also learn that Matthew was sliced by the boat propeller, so it's going to be a closed casket. Matthew's widow leaves abruptly after they tell her like the price, and David is really pissed off that she's wasting their time shopping around for the best deal. And Nate is like, well, it's her right to do so. She can do that if she wants to, whatever. And so we're seeing still the same parallels and tensions between David's business mind and Nate's more empathetic approach, which I thought was, I mean, we get it, but they're still sticking with that. Like there's still very much themselves in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's what you took out of it, 'cause I mean, I guess I did think about that a little bit, but not as so intricately as you. I more so was watching the wife, and I'm like, I can't tell if this wife actually loved her husband or if she hated him or if she was just used to him or like what the deal was. Like it didn't, something just didn't sit well with me. And yes, I have seen this series before, but I'm ADHD. I don't fucking remember shit. And I'm not going to remember every single death scene, you know? Like I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was
So
gonna
I don't know,
say
it's interesting.
I've definitely watched this more recently because I was gonna that definitely makes a difference because I'm pretty sure I remembered that she was the one who, like, did what she does at the end. So, I was, yeah, more
That was in
paying
your
attention to the
forefront.
Mhm. So next we see Ruth watering her plants, like, against the window that's, like, going against the outside stairs, and then there's a woman walking up the stairs, and their eyes meet, and we learn that this woman is Ruth's estranged sister, Sarah. I love Sarah, and I know you said you love Sarah too. We all love Sarah. So I'm really excited to get to hang out with her now that she's been introduced in the series. So Sarah's obviously a free spirit, opposite of Ruth. Ruth tells Sarah that she wanted to tell her that she forgives her and she doesn't want to be estranged and all this. And then she mentions that she did the plan. So then Sarah has heard of the plan before and congratulates her. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought you would do that. And she tells Ruth that she actually did the plan herself back in the 70s when it was still called transitional focus before Ernst Ballhofer was busted for tax evasion and sold it to the Canadians. That's when it became the plan. And then she goes on to tell Ruth that she met Ballhofer at a party once and he came on to me, but I had just dropped acid for the first time and thought he was some Mayan death priest who wanted to cut my heart out and throw it into a pit. So I blew him off. And then she just laughs like, ha ha ha, and walks away. And I was dying. Very perfect introduction to Sarah as a person and Ruth and Sarah's relationship and their dynamics there because
Yeah.
that was such a Sarah story and a Sarah thing to do and say, and so opposite of everything that is Ruth. What did you think of Sarah?
I loved
I've
her.
got
I
long notes
feel
in front
like
of me.
Sarah is one of those people that I bet you she's misunderstood a lot. She seems
Yeah.
very intelligent and like intuitive, and I'm drawn to those types of people. And I just love, I don't know, she's not uptight. She doesn't have a butt plug in her ass all the time like Ruth does.
Yeah. I love how we get to learn more about their family dynamics from her coming into the show.
Yeah.
So then we see David hanging up the phone and telling Nate that Catherine Collins, the death scene guy's wife or widow, has decided to go with the Unger mortuary. And Nate is like, whatever. And David points out that this is Kroner coming after them again because Unger is more expensive than Fisher and Sons, and they're a Kroner home now. So he's like, obviously, they're doing something to get them to go with them. And Nate tells David he's just being dramatic, and David tells Nate he lives in denial, which both things are true. And as they're going back and forth, they walk into the prep room. And I just want to point out how Rico's little ears perk up here when Nate tells David that he heard that the Kroner stock had taken a nosedive. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I feel like right when he said that, Rico's in the back, like listening. And then Rico chimes in and says something like, I told you so about I don't even remember what it was, and David's like, "Not now, Rico," and they're all just bitching at each other, and then David announces that he's gonna go and lowball Unger to try to get the Collins funeral back, and he said, "Even if we cut our profits in half, we can still show Kroner that we're willing to fight," which I appreciate that about David. He has tenacity. But yeah, I really feel like there was a little subliminal like peak for us at Rico's character there because remember he went and did that job for Kroner and
Yeah, if so all of this is taking off right now. There's all this shit going on. People are fighting, people are talking about things that they're gonna do and yada yada yada. If you listen closely, I don't think I would have heard this otherwise, but I was watching it on my laptop and the speakers are kind of weird. So, like, I can hear things out of one speaker more. And there is jazz music playing in the background. And I thought it was interesting because there was so much commotion going on, and you hear this like lighthearted jazz music going. And it's like, well, that's contradictory to the whole
yeah.
shebang. And had to have been intentional because why would they have it in there otherwise?
Yeah, that is awesome. I want to go back and listen to that now. I wonder if it was meant to be like just the music they had playing like in the waiting room, like at the home, and they were just hearing it down there, or is that what
No,
they
it
like
was
to
loud
listen to
enough.
when they work?
Right. Like Rico's just going to town on these dead bodies and he's like doo, 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 like whatever the jazz music
Yeah,
was.
that's
You
funny.
have to check it out.
Okay, so then we see Aunt Sarah looking through Ruth's photo albums of all the kids, and they were all so cute when they were little. And Claire walks in and says, "Hi, Mom," but it's actually Sarah. And she's like, "Who the hell are you?" And Aunt Sarah introduces herself, and she's like, "Oh, Claire, the goddess is clearly manifesting through you. It's very obvious." And Claire's like, "I thought you were dead."
Claire's so uncomfortable. I love Sarah. This is hilarious. And also, what a great that I thought you were dead shows that Ruth clearly doesn't ever talk about her sister or the way that, like Claire said, the way that she talks about her is in a way that makes her seem that she's deceased. So we see how uncomfortable this whole relationship is. No wonder Ruth is so weird, you know? Like, do we
For
ever find
sure.
out why they
Yeah.
estranged from each other? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll remember because you have notes about it. But I think we get more into it later in the series, but they basically lay it out for us in this episode. Um,
And we think
but we'll
that's
get
the
there.
real reason. There's nothing like a big like affair or something like that.
Oh no, I don't. I don't think
Okay.
so. I think yeah, they're
I
just
couldn't remember.
very like up family drama. Yeah, so then Claire shows Aunt Sarah her art, and Sarah's super interested and she loves it. And I think it sparks something in Claire because I think this is the first time that anyone has ever made Claire feel seen when it comes to her
Mhm.
art. And she says, "You're an artist, Claire. I'm not saying you're any good yet, but if you focus and live fully, you could become something. If you're lucky and don't self destruct, you've got an eye. You see through the veil. Oh, it's a blessing and a curse." So she's very woo woo, very hippie. And
Kinda crunchy.
that is also, yeah, that's also very Claire, though. So Claire's like,
Yes. I noticed I saw a lot of similarities, and I also loved that line about her, "You're not any good yet." It seemed so, like, funny, but also only somebody that means it would say something like that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, like you could tell she was being sincere,
Yeah.
like in a good way. Like she was being kind.
Yes. Not
Um,
picky and asshole.
yeah. So then she starts giving Claire feng shui tips for her room, and Claire's like, "Are you fucking serious?" And Sarah tells her to drop the generic apathy crap. That's just laziness. You're more than that, and you know it. And I think that really resonates with Claire too. And it's the start of Claire really becoming a true artist because she starts taking herself seriously
Yeah.
because she was like kind of shitting on Sarah's like woo woo shit, but then she's like, don't be a bitch. Like open up and be more open minded or you're not gonna get anywhere. And I feel like she listened.
Every 17-year-old needs to hear that.
Yeah, that's very true. Then we see Vanessa and Rico at home with a contractor learning that they have water damage and mold in their house that could cost up to 7 grand, which is about $13,000 today. I looked it up. So that fucking sucks. If their roof is involved, he says. So Rico tells Vanessa that they can have his cousin Ramon do it, and Vanessa's bitching at him like he didn't even notice it the first time because he was their house inspector. Then they get into a fight because Rico is like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have bought this house behind my back." And Vanessa is like, in her, I feel like she's kind of like true in her head, but she's like so bad because it is true. She did go behind Rico's back to get this house, but like they both really wanted it. And it's like, I don't think it's really fair for him to throw that in her
No,
face.
because
But
they did want the house. She got the
yeah,
money behind his back. She didn't go and pick out a house and buy it. Like Rico, settle the
yeah,
fuck down.
that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah. Fucking gaslight Vanessa, Rico.
That's what he's doing. Little shit.
Then we see Mitzi Dalton Huntley talking on the phone to her assistant or something who tells her that Catherine Collins, the widow, has gone back to Fisher and Sons. So Mitzi laughs and decides to cancel her appointments for the next day so that she can pay Fisher and Sons a visit.
I can't believe this bitch is still alive. We thought she was going to die thrice in that one episode. And here she is
Yes, oh my gosh.
back from all of it.
back from hell to terrorize us some more. She's really the worst. So we're back at the Fishers now with Aunt Sarah, and she's standing barefoot in the kitchen with her cute toe rings and tattoos and anklets and nail polish, asking Ruth if she has any tarragon. And they go back and forth about how Ruth is making chicken Kiev, and Sarah's like, relax, it's an alchemy, not a science. And then Ruth looks really hurt when Claire asks Sarah if there's anything that she can do to help her. So obviously she never really asked Ruth that, and Ruth is feeling like, what the hell? Which was sad, but also I get it. And Ruth should be more, I don't know.
She needs to take a reality check.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So then we see Nikolai pouring shots of vodka at the kitchen table for himself and Aunt Sarah, and he asks Ruth to join them. And Ruth's like, no thanks. But also I thought like that was kind of annoying because Ruth was like cooking dinner for everyone. I just like I don't know. I don't think that she should be being such a bitch. Obviously, she's like way too uptight and she needs to chill. But I also felt bad for her in this moment when like it's like people aren't realizing all the work that she's doing. Like she can't just stop and take
She
shots of
wants
vodka with
people to,
you.
she could have, absolutely could have. She wants them
Yeah,
to
but then she
think.
wouldn't have she would have been able to like do with the other stuff that she was doing. Like she could choose to do that, but it's like the unseen labor of women, I guess is what I'm pointing out. Like people just assume you're gonna like they wouldn't have a dinner to eat if she wasn't focusing on
True.
that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess
But
sitting there looking at Nikolai drinking the vodka, yes. I don't think that it was Sarah's job to
no,
step in and like do the extra things, but I actually 100% agree. Um, but I also think that Ruth has this mentality that she's trying to be a martyr, it seems like. Like she
yeah.
wants to be this
Yeah.
martyr that is martyring.
Right.
Meh. Like
Yeah. It's like a separate thing. Like she's too much.
she's right.
She's too
She's right
uptight.
to want help and not have people
Well, I don't
sitting there
even
drinking
think
alcohol.
I don't even know if she like wanted help. I think she was just I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into it, but it's like don't ask her. I mean, I guess you can ask if you're just trying to be nice, ask her if she wants a shot of vodka, but it's like obviously she's not going to take any. Just like offer to help or say thank you for just acknowledge the fact that she's giving you food. Like she's busting her ass for all of you right now, and she's not even the one who like called everyone to dinner. Like, I feel like that's a major thing that she doesn't even
Huge, yeah.
care about or notice. But with this family, like,
Because it was
Ruth
what
does
she
so
was
much. And
supposed to do.
yeah, yeah. And she does all their fucking laundry and shit. Like, what the hell? But she loves it.
Yeah.
But it's like fucked up.
But does she? I feel like she doesn't love it. She's not
Yeah.
getting the
It's like
fulfillment
all
out
she
of it by,
knows.
yeah,
I think she quits eventually. I think she gives just like fuck all of you eventually, if I remember correctly. But I don't know when that happened.
I can see that.
So then Sarah and Nikolai are singing together, and Claire notices that Ruth is looking kind of jealous, which, whatever. So I honestly, okay, this is what I said. I felt bad for Ruth here because she's working so hard, but also lighten up. Sarah whispers to Ruth that she loves Nikolai and the sex must be spectacular. And then David walks in and Sarah gives him a big hug. And Ruth's like, I'm sure you couldn't forget her if you tried, because she's like, you remember your Aunt Sarah. And then Nikolai's like, David, have some vodka.
Yeah, that was a lot. There was at some point a comment or reference. Oh yeah, Sarah was like, he has the face of a 12-year-old, and I'm like, he really, really does.
Yeah, he
Especially
does.
they
He has
really
a
like
nice
baby face.
For sure. Yes. Okay. So
Oh,
then Brenda
I
and
start
Nate
getting
walk
pissed
in.
here.
Yes. They walk into the foyer downstairs, and Brenda's like, this is so weird and not me. And Nate is encouraging her and is like, don't worry, it'll be fine. And then at the dinner table, Aunt Sarah keeps calling Brenda Linda and then apologizes, saying she's drunk and it's all Nikolai's fault. Well, flirtatiously grabbing his chest and shoulder, even though I don't think she meant anything by it, but I feel like they were trying to point out the fact that she was being kind of handsy with Nikolai. Um,
Yep.
and then Brenda tells her that she's a massage therapist, and Nate interjects that Brenda is also writing a novel. And then Claire tells Sarah that Brenda is Charlotte from Charlotte Light and Dark, and Brenda is visibly displeased by this. And David is like, oh, I didn't know that. And Ruth is like sitting over there, like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? So then Claire explains it, and Ruth is looking horrified. She's like, yeah, she was like, analyzed by these psychologists when she was younger, and she just fucked with them because she's so smart, which is so stupid. Like, why would you just out her? But also, people probably just assume that everyone knows, and it's not like a secret because it's public
It
information,
is
kind of. But
public
still,
information.
yeah, just should have known better. But also, like, you can't expect people to like. It's yeah. Anyway, so then Sarah's like, well, Nate, you continue to be drawn to strong, complex women. Bravo. And then they talk about Sarah's ex-Russian lovers and Brenda's parents being shrinks and Claire's art. And then Sarah tells Claire that she must come stay with her. And Ruth drops her fork, and everyone's like, ooh, awkward, because Ruth was pissed about the fact that she said that.
That's the end.
Yeah. And that was a hint for us, giving us a peek at why Ruth and Sarah are estranged when she mentioned one of Ruth's kids going to visit her. So we find more out about that later. And then Nate interjects and is like, well, Brenda and I decided to get married. And this is super awkward. And Ruth does not react at all
I
at
think she
first.
reacted. I think she reacted poorly and looked visibly displeased. And I was getting really pissed about how pissed she was getting. I'm so irritated. She just looks like she just lost a child in a fucking accident, is what her face reminded me of. And it was like, are you serious? Look around you, Ruth. You got to check yourself because you're going to
Yeah,
push these kids away. You're going to push them so far
100%.
away.
And Brenda was looking right at her, watching for her reaction. And
Yes.
she just was like, it was
I
so
wonder if that
sad,
actually hurt.
honestly.
It was. It was so sad.
So then Sarah and Nikolai are hammered, and Sarah keeps calling Brenda Linda again. She did it like 5 times, and then tells her she never would have taken her for the type to get married. And David asks to see the ring, and Ruth leaves the room. And then we see Brenda noticing this, and Nate too. And then Sarah and Nikolai. So it shows everyone's face. It goes around the table showing everyone's
Yep.
face and how they're reacting to Ruth getting up and walking out of the room, which was a good scene, I think, for them to include in there. And then David is like, is there any more of that vodka left? Which was awesome. And Nikolai follows Ruth into the kitchen, and Ruth tells him, oh, it's just been a long day. There's so much to clean up. Look at this mess. And Nikolai's like, it's okay. I help you clean up. Like, just thinking in his head, oh, that's all. Everything's just going right. He had no clue what is actually happening, which was pretty funny. And then Sarah offers everyone at the table a Vicodin, and Claire asks what's up with Topanga Canyon, which is where Sarah lives. She's like, why did Ruth freak out when you mentioned that? And then that's when we learn that Nate went to visit Sarah when he was 15 and lost his virginity to a 32-year-old. And David got lost in the canyon or something like that. And Ruth has never forgiven Sarah since then. And then Claire is jealous that she missed out.
Okay. So here's what I wrote. I don't think I would have forgiven her very easily either if my child was 15 having sex with a 32-year-old. Let me explain. And I think what I wanted to explain was I'm not at all upset that a 15-year-old is having sex. Not at all. I'm actually not even upset at the age difference because my husband and I are 15 years apart. I'm upset that it was a minor and an adult. That's what I'm upset
Well,
about. And you know what
yeah.
else I'm upset about is that it actually, if this was flopped, if it was a 15-year-old girl with a 32-year-old man, that man
Yeah.
would be probably killed. Now, these types of situations actually happen so often where and you're not going to hear me defend men very often, so why don't you just take this as a really big moment for me? This is so not okay. Like that 32-year-old should be in fucking jail for life. Like I don't even care. That I'm just so disgusted by she's a predator. And now she's what, still amongst all of us? I know it's just a fucking TV show, Courtney. Settle down. But it just, oh my God, it was just killing me because I have kids. I have small children. And I'm like, oh.
Another rare moment for you right now is that you're siding with Ruth.
Yes, another rare moment. Yeah. You throw children in the mix, and I'm always children first. 100%.
Yeah, and even Sarah was defending her too, defending this woman. She's like, "Oh, she's so gentle and whatever." And yeah, it is gross. It's disgusting, but it's also it's interesting to compare the dynamics between, because it's an older woman and a younger boy instead of an older man and a younger girl, how society perceives that differently. Because you're right, it would have been so much more fucked up if I feel like it would not have been. It would have been like, imagine if it was Claire sleeping with 32-year-old guy, like that'd be super fucked up. And I'm sure that everyone there kind of, it's just like an unspoken thing, but
Yep.
it's actually
It was
exactly the
kind of a
fucking
cool.
same.
It was cool that Nate got to sleep with this 32-year-old, and it's like
Yeah.
you were sexually assaulted, and what's the word?
What? I don't know.
What's the word when
But
you're
I was gonna
violated as a child?
molested.
Molested. I thought it started with a P.
I
I'm done.
wonder, think about Nate's character now and how like hypersexual he is. Probably maybe because he was assaulted as a child.
Yes, he was molested. And victims oftentimes embody some of that stuff.
Wow. I wonder
My
if that
lord.
is, yeah, like I wonder if that actually, obviously he's a fictional character, but I'm curious if that was intended to be a part of his, trauma or whatever and personality and like fucked up shit
Interesting.
afterwards. Super
It all
interesting.
makes sense.
Um, yeah. But no, I totally agree. That's fucking disgusting. And yeah, so that's why they became estranged, was because of that visit when David and Nate went to go visit, and Nate lost his
That's why.
virginity at the age of 15. Yes, to a
Yep.
32-year-old friend of Sarah's.
Okay.
So Brenda and Nate are leaving the dinner, and Brenda is like, that was a fucking disaster and your mom hates me more than ever. And Nate's like, who cares, whatever. Typical guy response. And Brenda's just like, I'm glad it's over. On to the next. We've got a whole lifetime of tense and uncomfortable family gatherings to look forward to. And kisses him pretty unaffectionately and walks out the door. And then Nate is looking disconcerted and kind of bummed out. Like, that didn't really go how I had hoped. So that
One
was a
weird thing
bummer.
to point
But
out, why did Nate not go with her? Like that was weird. Like why did she leave the house and like go? Like don't they fucking live together? They're engaged. I don't know. It's just weird. Weird moment.
yeah, but it didn't know, it's interesting to think about because you would think, I feel like that's how you and I have both always behaved in relationships too. Once you get to that point, like, you just like stay with them all the time. Like it's not,
I usually live with them and I actually fuck them before I live with them and then live with them before I get engaged and then, you know, that order of
yeah.
operations. Then I get pregnant and then I get married.
Um, but no, I thought that was interesting too. Like, why would maybe he had to get up early the next morning or something like that? I feel like they throw
Well, I
that
suppose
type
he
of
still
thing in
works
there.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is just interesting because a lot of couples, when they're super serious like that, do stay together every night. So then in the next scene, David's answering Ben's phone call in his apartment after the dinner, and David's really drunk. And Ben asked him where he's been, and David tells him that they had a family dinner and his brother's getting married. And Ben asks if David is drunk, and he tells him that he is, and that his mom's boyfriend kept pouring vodka. And Ben is like, why didn't you invite me if your mom's boyfriend was there? And David tells him, oh, I wanted to spare you. Like it was such a disaster or whatever. So Ben actually took that really well. I was expecting him to like continue to be mad, but he was totally
Mm-hmm.
fine. He was like, okay, whatever. And he tries to get together with David, like, oh, you should come here or I can come there. David just blows him off. So I guess we're supposed to wonder at this point if David maybe isn't really that into Ben, which I think is the case because he loves Keith and poor Ben. But yay, Keith and David, because always rooting for them.
My favorite line of this scene was, why don't you come over? And David says, I can't. I'm too drunk. I shouldn't drive. And then Ben says, well, why don't I come over there? And David's like, I'm too drunk to drive. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I love all of this. Where's my visuals?
Do you think he was saying that because he was drunk and like didn't know what he was saying, or do you think he knew and just was acting
No, he
like
knew
he didn't know what to
he
say?
couldn't he couldn't drive because he's the top.
Oh, oh my God. Oh my God, do you think he's the top with Keith?
I don't know, But I know that he's clearly the top on this one because he couldn't drive.
David's verse. I think we did
How did you
learn
not pick
that
that
now that
up?
I'm I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't well, I don't know. Like that's kind of like but I get it. I get it now. That does make sense. I just my brain did just not go there, I guess. But I do remember that
Leave
episode
it
with
to
the
me.
really hot firefighter.
Yeah,
Yeah, really
he
though.
was the top.
Pretty sure. No, I think
I
in that
think.
episode we learned that David is was like I think they had a conversation
Oh yeah,
about
versatile.
being
Yep.
what like what they were or whatever. Yeah, I think David said it. Yeah, I remember him saying like I'm versatile. He said it like that. Um, funny. Okay. So then we see Nate approaching Ruth as she's cleaning up after dinner and offers to help her, which good job, even though it was just moving the table. So Ruth starts freaking out and tells Nate, like, you should have used your grandmother's ring. No one else is going to use it. And blah, 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 blah. And Nate's like, you never even told me about it. I didn't even know it existed. And then he's like, you know what? I think this is really about you not liking Brenda. And she's like, that's crazy. That's not true. And she's like, is she pregnant? And Nate is like, no, but I love her and you need to accept that. So I thought that was a really good job of him. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what more could you really ask for in that moment? He did exactly what he needed to do. And Ruth needs
I
to,
agree.
yeah, check herself.
I wish Brenda would have
So
been there to
then
see it, but that's not why we do things. That's not why we do the right thing for people to see. So cool that he did it.
yeah, but I think that Brenda would have found that attractive
Oh fuck yeah, she did.
because
Jumped his
it's,
guns right there.
yeah, because it's being, yeah, like, I don't know. Interesting though, how he did only do that after. I wonder how much it would have changed her, how she's, you know, going about her relationship with him if she had seen
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Because when, you know, at the dinner table, he didn't really call Ruth out or anything. And that maybe did a little bit of damage to his relationship with Brenda because maybe
He could have
Brenda
done more for
needed him,
sure.
yeah, to do some, you know, say a little something or I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was just fucking awkward as hell. So then we see David and Nate back talking with the death scene character's widow, and they thank her for coming back. And she's like, well, you gave me the best price. That's the only reason I'm here. And she tells them that she wants to see the body. And David is like, trust me, you do not want to do that. And she goes on a bit of a rant talking about how you never know what's going to happen. She was just kind of saying weird, like nonsensical shit, kind of. And Nate offers her a book about grief. And he's like, don't worry, it's all going to be okay. And she looks at him like he's absolutely insane and like, no, it's not. And then we see David later on asking Nate what's wrong. And Nate asks if it doesn't ever get him down. So it was a weird transition scene. So we see that happening, and then all of a sudden it's like it was a memory of Nate's, and then we're in real time with Nate and
Mm-hmm.
David's like, "What's wrong?" It's like, "Doesn't it ever get you down dealing with this shit all the time?" And David tells him, "Of course it does all the time. It doesn't get any easier, just more familiar." And then fucking Mitzi walks in.
Okay, so that scene, here's what I was thinking about. Because the way that he said it doesn't get any easier, it just gets more familiar. They both looked at each other with this like this thoughtful, like they were thinking about something, and all I could think about was, were they talking about getting over Nathaniel, or were they talking about each of their own problems, like in their brain? What is it? It it just gets more familiar. Are they talking about David and Keith? Is Nate thinking about his AMVM? Is there a combination here? Like there was something so much more deep than what we just saw going on. And then
Yeah.
when Mitzi walks in, it like cuts it right off, you know? Like
Yeah.
she
And it's just
does.
another thing that could be that could be another thing, you know, that you're naming
She's
off. Like
becoming more familiar. Yep.
all of this shit. It's like life, all the fucked up shit in life, which I can identify with. I feel like we ask each other that all the time. Like, how the fuck do we deal with all this fucked up shit all the time? Especially now. It's very relatable.
Uh-huh.
Like, how the fuck are we? How are you guys all just living? Nobody's okay. But yeah, so
It is just getting me more familiar.
yes. Oh my God, wow. That's creepy how relatable that
Mm-hmm.
is right now. Gross, but also love it. Okay, so Nate's like, "What the fuck do you want?" to Mitzi, and she's like, "I want you boys to come the fuck with me on a little fucking trip. What do you fucking say, huh?" And they're like, "We're busy," and she blackmails them into going with her because she found something that they could get a fine on or something in the newspaper. I don't know, but
Well, actually, Nate said, "What kind of fucking trip?" And I love that was one of my favorite lines because they're like fucking
yes,
fuck back and forth, and he's like, "What kind of fucking trip?"
yes, that was a funny scene. Yeah, Mitzi, what a
I hate how
bitch.
much I laugh at her because she is definitely funny.
I know.
And you know what? If it was a different world, if she wasn't working for Kroner and we didn't like dislike her, I feel like Mitzi and I would be real good friends.
Yes, we
But
said this
she's a little
before
slimy.
when she first was introduced to us. We said I think we like talked about her for a while. We were like, she's a bitch, but she's also a boss. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a female, powerful female in a male dominated space. So we got to give her a little bit of props, but she should be less of a cunt.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like that Christy Nome song. Christy
yes,
Nome.
I wanna
Why?
know
Oh, that's what it
why
is.
you're such
Why
a
such a little cunt?
our favorite protest chant. Oh,
We probably have that
fuck
on
you,
video.
Christino. Yeah. Okay. So David and Nate are on Kroner's jet with cocktails, and David calls Rico and tells him he has to pick up the Collins body. Fucking David. And poor Rico. Like, it's like they just take advantage of
Dump
him.
on
They
him.
really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nate and Mitzi are just sitting there insulting each other. And then Bobo from a few episodes ago walks up and hugs Mitzi, and Mitzi leaves him to chat with the Fishers. And then we learn that they're basically just bribing everyone to sell to them. And Bobo gets to fly out to Palm Springs for golf and stuff and tells them that they're idiots if they don't also join.
The cult. It's like we're talking to ICE
Yes.
agents right now. Like, let's just bribe them to come on and sell their lives over
Yeah.
for this.
To the dark side.
Yep.
Ugh.
$50,000 sign on bonus that you're never going to see.
Yeah. LO fucking L. Disgusting. So back at the Fishers, Claire sees Sarah doing Tai Chi or something. Remember, I was doing Tai Chi in the liquor line at Jackie's wedding, and then they cut me off. It's like that's when you went and stole the bottle of wine and ran back to
Yeah.
the table. That was so fun. But so Sarah's doing like some Tai Chi shit in the living room, and then Claire walks up and is like watching her curiously. And then she walks into the kitchen where Ruth is and tells Ruth it must have been fun having a sister growing up. And Ruth is like, not really, and just starts talking shit about Sarah, saying how she's self-involved and stuff. And then Claire's like, whatever, and starts to walk away. And then Ruth stops her and says, Claire, I think if you work hard, you can be good at whatever you put your mind to. And she's like, yeah, sure, mom, and just walks away. And then Ruth is sad, but yeah,
It seemed
sad.
performative.
It's just, yeah,
It didn't seem sincere. Some of Ruth's compliments don't seem sincere. They just seem like she read them in a book and it says you should say this.
yeah.
When
And she's
child does this, say this.
Yes. And she's only even like noticing and caring because she's seen how Claire's responding to Sarah. Like, why,
She's trying to
it's
one up Sarah.
unfortunate. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think she is genuinely jealous of, like, she wants Claire's affection for real, but she is only acting on it because she's jealous of Sarah and that Sarah's getting that without having to do anything. And it's just that sucks for Claire to experience. Like, why can't you be supportive of me and make me feel seen and stuff just on your own? Why does it obviously have to be because my aunt that you don't like is here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just unfortunate, but it's also like, yeah, there's a lot going on. So that was kind of sad. Then at Rico and Vanessa's, Rico and Ramon are working on the mold situation, like tearing down the wall and shit. And Rico's like, I gotta go pick up this body. And Vanessa's like, no, you can't go. Like, you have to be here. Tell David to do it. What are you, his lapdog? And then Rico freaks out on Vanessa. Um, and I don't remember what he said. He was just like, shut just shut up or
He
something.
said, shut
Like,
up.
don't talk to me like that. Did he? Yeah, it was like not cool. And starts freaking out on her, which she was being a bitch to him, honestly, but still don't speak to your wife. Like, absolutely no excuse to speak to your wife in that way. And
In front of
Ramon,
somebody, go fuck yourself.
yeah,
Literally,
yes.
I was like, oh, hell no, Rico, you little 5 foot nothing. Get the fuck out of here. I will literally drop your ass. I'm also 5 foot nothing, so
Yes. And
consider the ass
Ramon,
dropped.
the cousin or whoever the hell was there, defended Vanessa and was like,
Mm-hmm.
shut the fuck up, Rico. Like, get the fuck out of here. And then Rico's like,
He
I'm out
called
of
her
here
V.
and leaves.
Ramon called
Yeah.
her V.
Yes. And then there was a little flirty moment after Rico stormed off. Ramon touched her shoulder and was like, don't worry, V. We're going to get this all sorted out. And then Vanessa was kind of looking at him and looking down at the baby. And there was just like a moment. But also, I remember what happens with this dude. And all I got to say at this point is just wait. And I know you probably don't remember. So
I kind of have an idea now.
we'll just wait. Okay. Then Mitzi's showing David and Nate Croner's weird party clubhouse thing in Florida. And Nate is like, why are we here? And Mitzi keeps telling them to have fun and hands them drinks. And they're like, whatever. Okay, let's like try to have a good time, which I thought was weird. I would not be able to chill and have a good time there if I were them, but whatever. So then we see Ruth walking into Claire's bedroom to drop off laundry. See, once again, why the fuck is she doing all her laundry? But also, she probably wants to be doing it.
Fair.
So then she stops and looks at Claire's art on the walls, and Claire walks in, and then Ruth leaves. But Claire saw Ruth looking at her art, which I feel like was good for Claire to see that at least.
I was happy to see Ruth do that. I was happy I wrote, good, Ruth, actually take an interest in your kid's life instead of woe is me all the time.
Yeah. Again, unfortunate that it had to only come because somebody else is. But anyway, so David and Nate are in the hot tub, and Mitzi joins them and tells them that Matt Gilardi was never invited there. So I think there was some more back and forth. I was like talking shit about Matt Gilardi between them, which was funny because Nate hates him so much. And then she gives them another pitch. Like, she has this guy come and bring them the envelope with the offer letter on it, essentially. And Nate rips up the envelope like right on the spot and throws it in the hot tub
Puts it in the
and gets it all
water.
wet. Yeah. And David's like kind of looking at it like, oh my God, because obviously it must have been a lot of money. And Mitzi gets super pissed right away and ditches them out and tells them their car will be leaving in 5 minutes. She's just like, you're going to go under eventually. Fuck you. Get out of here.
She also points out something that I thought was interesting. She said that they're playing the victims right now. And I feel like Mitzi saying
Yes.
that to David and Nate is like, oh my God, you guys have got to get over this victim mentality. It's basically irony for their mother always playing the victim as well. And it's like that's kind of the environment that they've grown up in, and they're embodying it themselves. It was it was ironic for me to watch that.
Yes. I didn't notice that, obviously, but I'm not surprised you did, because like Ruth bothers you so much. So it makes sense that that would stand out to you. But that is so true. And it's interesting to think about because it's something that everyone probably does a little bit, for sure. We all embody our parents in weird ways, some
Oh
positive,
yeah.
some negative, but that's definitely, I think, something that they all do, the Fishers, is they like the woe is me, which I think everybody can be like that to an extent. But yeah. So on the plane home, David asked Nate if he thinks that they should have accepted the offer. And Nate's like, no, we can't give up. And then David notices Nate getting a headache and asks him if he's told Brenda yet about the ABM. And Nate lies to him and says yes. But I kind of thought that he's being impulsive, kind of, because I think his AVM is influencing it. Like, he's afraid of
Yeah.
dying or something,
Aren't we all?
especially if you have
His is
AVM.
just a looming. Yeah.
But I feel like that was why he's like, fuck, he's not even considering selling to
The
Kroner.
offer.
Like he's trying to, yeah,
He's
he's like
like
trying to
Walter
have
White.
something to
He's
hang
like,
on
we got
to.
this. Well, I guess the
Yeah,
opposite
yeah,
of
like
Walter White, but in that sense
that
of
kind of
what do I got to lose?
delusionally, yeah, yeah. Or like almost even as like a distraction, maybe, but along the same vein as that, like just being influenced by this other thing, like avoiding anything to avoid having to deal with the fact that I could die.
Hmm.
So then next we see Nate crawling into bed with Brenda and they're being cute. And Brenda says to him, "You're the only thing in my life that works." And then her doorbell rings and Brenda has to get out of bed for her client. And then Nate tells her he loves her so much and puts a pillow over her head and he's smothering her. And then she wakes up from the dream. So it was a dream. Obviously, they're trying to tell us that Brenda's feeling smothered by Nate's love, I guess, because he says, "I love
Yep.
you." And then it's a bit so cheesy, but also like, okay. And then she actually does get up and go get the door, but weird.
Yeah, I thought that was a little freaky.
It was scary to actually see that because it showed me actually smothering Brenda, even though it was just a dream sequence, but like you actually saw it happening. So it was kind of like visceral and yeah, weird.
Yep.
So David and Ben are leaving church and Taylor goes running up to say hi to David.
Taylor and David, I thought that was fucking hilarious. David's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." And Taylor's like, "That's a big ass lie. I saw you staring in church." And I was like, "Get
Yes.
it, girl. That's so good."
Yes, it was so her and so cute. I wrote, I love her too. And then David introduces her to Ben and asks her how she's doing. And then Keith and Eddie are watching from across the room. But this must be the first time that David's running into Keith after their hookup when he
Yep.
cheated on Eddie. And David kind of cheated on Ben too, because they were together then as well, or had at least started dating.
Yeah.
Um, so then they're watching from across the room, and Eddie asks Keith if he wants to go say hi, and Keith's like, "Nah." Obviously, doesn't want to go and confront the fact that he cheated on him. They're like, that's obviously why he doesn't want to go up is because he knows that that happened. And he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then he tells Eddie, "Oh, we had an argument." And then Keith calls Taylor back over to leave and she hugs David goodbye. And then when she leaves, Ben asks David who she is. And David tells him her uncle is an old friend of mine. So he's not very
I feel like that's also
fully
code.
open.
He wasn't open about it, but I feel like it's also code.
What do you mean?
Code for we fucked. We dated. We've been
Oh,
together.
sure.
I drove him.
Okay. Yeah. 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 So then the next scene, I wrote down, "Oh shit, Courtney, it's your episode," because we've been talking about this. We've mentioned it probably every single episode so far, but in one of the very first ones, that was probably one of the best moments of our podcast was when we were talking about this. And you were like, "She gives massage or I was like, "It's shiatsu." And you're like, "Yeah. And she does some other ones." And we were dying
We
laughing
looked at
because
each other.
yes, we were talking about this scene. So Brenda's working on her client, and when he turns over, he has a huge fucking boner. And well, we don't get to see it, so maybe it wasn't huge, but clearly he has a boner. It's
It wasn't that
implied
big.
that he
Her
has a
arm
boner.
wasn't going like real high. It was like I was watching. Trust me. I was trying to gauge all of this.
Oh, it was so So he apologizes and she's like, "Oh, don't be embarrassed." And he's like, "Who says I'm embarrassed?" And then she starts jerking him off. And I was like, I cannot wait to unpack this scene.
Okay. A lot of thoughts. I'm not going to use them all because I don't want to like bore everybody for the next hour because I have so many thoughts in my head about this. I was so hot and bothered by this. Okay, so one of my fantasies is something very similar when it's consensual. I've had this happen where it wasn't consensual, where the guy was like massaging me and started jerking himself off. And that was not cool. I actually ended up reporting him and he got fired and got his license taken away and all this crazy shit. But that happened like 2 years ago. So I'm not talking about that kind of a scenario. I'm talking about this kind of a scenario where it was clearly consensual. And I
Consensual.
think Brenda was digging it. I think she was digging it. And then she says, "I don't think I can see you again." And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that had to be really hard to say too, because I bet you she got a really big tip, but it's also in her work ethic. Like, that's not ethical. And so she really should not be seeing him again.
No. Well, that yeah, so that's what I was wondering about that part. After she jacks him off, she's washing her hands and he's getting dressed and he's like, "So can I make another appointment?" Which I was like,
For
"Hell
next
fucking no,
week.
of course he wants to." Yeah. And she tells him, "No, I don't think I can see you again." And he's like, "Okay, well, thanks again. Take care," and leaves. And Brenda looks kind like she's looking out the door, like as he's walking out. And I was trying to figure out like what the look on her face was. I was like, is she surprised that he's not upset or something? Because he was totally just like, okay, like bye. And I was like, maybe she was hoping it would be more dramatic or interesting than it actually ended up being because she's doing all this crazy shit for writing material, you know? So I was like, what do you think was going through her mind there? And also, I feel like that guy handled that situation in the best possible way, like no notes, because he was literally just like, okay, thanks, bye. Like
Yeah.
there's, which unexpected for, you know, a man in that situation. I would
I know
just assume they'd
he
be
like did
distancing.
thank her too. I thought that was really sweet. I think what's
Yeah,
going through
it's
Brenda's
nice.
mind is like, how far am I willing to go for this? I think she's bargaining in her brain right now. Like, did I know what I did was wrong, but is it too wrong? And like, how far am I willing to go for this book? And she's starting to
Mhm.
sober to the idea that she's doing all of these things that she may not actually feel good about doing after all is said and done, you know?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Nate's back at the funeral home setting up the chairs for the Collins funeral when his widow walks in and demands to see his body. Um,
And I say, let her fucking see him. Let her fucking see him. It's her husband. She's been warned. Let her fucking see him.
yes. So Nate's like, I don't think that's a good idea because there's been no restoration work and it will be very traumatizing. And she begs and pleads with him to let her. And Nate's like, okay, fine. And he opens the casket and the widow bursts out into maniacal laughter and is yelling, "Look at you now, you fucking pig. I'm glad you're dead. I'm fucking glad. And I hope it hurt like hell." And then she pauses and is like, "He can't hit me anymore, can he?" And when she says that, Nate kind of looks at her like, "Oh shit," with realization. And then she turns to him and says, "Thank you," and walks out. And I said, the look on Nate's face here, it's so perfect. He just has so much empathy for people.
I fucking knew it too in my brain. I knew something was off about this whole scenario. And I can totally relate to the abuse and wanting to see her abuser die. I didn't have a partner abuser or a spousal abuser. I had this client that was a total predator, totally a predator, and preyed on me all the time and ended up dying after like 10
Oh my
years of
God.
me getting this guy. I mean, I have pictures of him showing up to my concerts. He would drive all the way up for these like contests that I would do all the way up north. It's insane.
Ew.
And he died, and I had to go to his funeral just to make sure. I did not go to his
Oh
funeral
my God.
to do condolences or anything. I had to make sure that he was dead because I would. And now oh my God, I still see him sometimes. It's crazy. Men are weird.
Ew. That's disgusting. And
Hmm.
scary. Okay, so Ben and David are making out on David's couch, and Ben tells David he loves him, and David just stares back at Ben, and he's like, not sure that is quite the response that I was hoping for. So super sad for Ben. David apologizes to him, and Ben says that he can't really say he's surprised. So he obviously was like picking up on the vibes that David wasn't super into him. And David tells him that he likes him a lot, but I'm in love with someone else. Ben is like, I see. And when exactly were you planning on telling me this? Which is fair. And David is like, it's not that I haven't enjoyed being with you. You're great. He's not even available. I just don't want to lie to you. I thought it would be a good idea for me to get involved with someone else. And Ben's like, well, now I know why you never wanted to introduce me to your family, and storms out. So super sad, but also good for David for being honest. I mean,
Yeah,
what
major
is he supposed
props
to
for being
do?
honest and vulnerable. And also,
Yeah.
you stupid idiot. Ben was amazing.
Yeah. Ruth is mopping the floor in the kitchen, and Sarah walks in with organic herbs and spices from the farmer's market and asks if Claire is there. And Ruth says no, and Sarah gives her a plant to give to Claire from her for her knowledge corner. And Ruth is like, I'm sure she'll appreciate that in a really cold tone. And Sarah's like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Like, what's wrong with you? And Ruth just starts telling her off. And she's like, you insult my cooking, you get drunk with my boyfriend, and you remind me of my kids' traumatic events in their lives or whatever. But the most important part of this, I think, is this part where she says, when mother died, someone had to step up, someone had to take care of Nanny, but you just did as you pleased. I want you to apologize. And Sarah apologizes and is like, fine, does that make it any better? And Ruth says, with tears in her eyes, no, because you had more fun than I did. And Sarah's like, fun? The only man I ever loved died when I was 21. The children I so desperately wanted were impossible because my ovaries are as dry as stone, and I'm a terrible artist, but I surround myself with people who have talent that I will never realize. It's all hard, Ruth. We just made different choices. And then there's silence, and Ruth says that she's sorry. She didn't know about the ovaries. And Sarah's like, it's fine. I'm sorry about Nathaniel. And then Ruth thanks her and tells her she got her flowers a couple months later after the incident with Nate. And then Sarah's like, I was in Peru. So then she finishes mopping the floor for Ruth. So that was such a poignant moment between sisters. But holy shit, we got so much Ruth family drama dumped on us there. So their mom died and they had to take care of their grandma. And it sounds like Sarah just kind of left Ruth to take care of the grandma and didn't really help. And Ruth is resentful to resentful of Sarah because of that. And I don't know, Sarah didn't really admit or deny whether that is like fully true, but I can totally see how that would cause drama between the sisters. I mean, my family is literally that same exact thing with my mom and aunts and grandma. So that was kind of crazy. But yeah, and then we learn about how she could never get pregnant. And so that's probably a big part of the reason why she leads the life that she leads, because
Oh yeah.
what else are you gonna do? Like better than
You
just
got to
like feeling
find
sorry
some
for
sort of
yourself.
find the your value in something, and I think that's what she's trying to do. And I thought it was super spot on. This part where Ruth says, I want you to apologize. And Sarah does say, fine, I'm sorry. Is that better? And Ruth says, no, because you had more fun with me. That like is exactly why I can't stand Ruth sometimes, because she literally asked for something, was given that something, and then it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And she didn't know any of the things behind Sarah. And it was just, oh, it was just so much to unpack there. And also
Yeah,
that my
it
sister and I
really,
had a similar experience as well.
you and Callie.
Yeah. Yep. And we've never been better, which I think happens to them, right?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
You need that
Um,
fallout to create something beautiful again. And it has to do that so that you can feel it organically and not forced, because Ruth is forcing a lot of things.
yeah, I totally agree.
I also look like a crazy person right now.
Yeah. No, I like it. I
Okay.
feel like those are better, honestly. Like I should get some because it probably does a better job at like whatever. But it really does highlight how like kind of self-centered Ruth is here, because she really
Mm-hmm.
wasn't thinking about any potential trauma that Sarah might have. It's just she's selfish and she's does whatever she wants, but that's not necessarily the whole truth. So yeah, super sad. Then Nate walks into Brenda's for real this time and asks her how the writing is. And Brenda's like, really, really good, and asks him about his day. And he tells her about the Collins widow. Can you imagine hating someone that much and staying with them for 20 years? And then she says, what makes you think people stay together because it makes them happy? And I said, damn, because that is so true. You
I
said the
wrote
same thing.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah. People stay together for so many different reasons and it is
Mm-hmm.
usually not because it makes them happy, sadly.
Ain't that the fucking truth? Tell me how you really feel.
Oh, oh my God. Fuck. That's probably the realest line from this episode.
Yeah. Should have been the name of the title. Kind of
That's
was.
so depressing
I
and
know.
so sad and so But, you know, if it tells us anything, it should empower us to lead the lives that we want to lead
Okay.
and put ourselves
Yeah,
first.
I'm very excited because I'm reading your notes right now that you didn't catch my note. Oh wait, never mind. You did the next part.
So then Nate says to Brenda, promise me if things ever start to go nutso or you ever hate me, that we'll deal with it. We won't just cover it up. And then he's like, so what did you do today? Not much, a client. And then Brenda undoes Nate's pants and they start making out. Oh, what is she doing? But yeah.
She is a train wreck right now. Train wreck. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our own character arcs, I guess, and growth
Yep.
journeys. But yeah, it was interesting to see how how Brenda was interacting with Nate after that scene with her client, because I feel like it's very telling into her state of mind because she's not even really feeling any guilt or anything right now, which I think she does eventually, but I think she's in this weird state of mind right now where she's just like in this fantasy land doing this crazy
Yeah.
shit. So then Claire's in her bedroom with her plants, chatting online with someone, and Ruth comes in with a box of stuff to give her. And it's a bunch of things that Claire had made over the years that Ruth has kept, like when she was a little girl. And she tells her that she kept everything that she ever did. And Claire takes out a drawing that she had made of the family that doesn't have Nate or Nathaniel in it, which was interesting to see. And Ruth was like, oh, yeah, like Nate had already left the house and Nathaniel was probably working or whatever. Because Claire's like, why are they not on here? And then Ruth smiles and tucks Claire's hair behind her ear as Claire is going through the items in the box, which was a very sweet moment. So,
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet. I was really proud of Ruth here. Huge, huge moment.
yeah, it
It's
was,
a good way to end the episode, actually.
yeah. I think that we can criticize her and she deserves the criticism for not being more, in tune or like trying to connect. Well, I don't know. I feel bad. It's like she wants to connect, but she just doesn't have those skills. But like she's also not paying attention to the right things. But
Hmm.
anyway, she deserves to be, criticized for her lack of whatever it is, like whether it's an ability or openness or whatever to connect with her kids. But at the same time, we have to give her credit for, she's recognizing it. And she has this pattern of recognizing her own faults. And she really does she has grown a lot and she works on, like, she's intentional when she realizes that she's in the wrong and she like is trying to improve herself. I feel like we see
Agreed.
evidence of that continually.
Yeah, that's really endearing. I think that is a really strong aspect of her character, even with all of the grief that I give her.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that I get so irritated with her because I see her potential so much. And it's like, what are you doing? No, you're backpedaling. Come on, keep going forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Who should we do for meet, date, cremate? I forgot to
Um,
put people in. I usually put someone in, but I forgot to do that this time.
I want to do the massage guy,
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The client, Brenda's
the
client.
client, Brenda's client. Sarah?
Yeah. Might as well do Sarah. And who else should we do? The widow, or we could do Mitzi Dalton
Oh,
Huntley, even though I'm sure we've already done her.
let's do the guy that got killed. No, because I feel like we'd both kill
Okay.
him.
Yeah, that's too easy. So we've got who again? I
What about
forgot
Eddie? We've
already.
never done Eddie.
We've totally done Eddie, but we can do him again.
Oh, okay.
Who are the other two? Who I totally forgot what we just decided. Eddie and who else?
The client, the massage client,
Okay.
and Sarah.
Oh, okay. Client, Sarah, Eddie.
Okay. I'm gonna fuck the client, or I'm gonna mate the client. I'm gonna date Sarah, and I'm gonna cremate Eddie.
Okay, why?
I'm gonna mate the client because he was already ready. I'm gonna date Sarah because I really like her vibes, and I think it'd be really fun to date her. And then I'm not a huge Eddie fan, anyways. I don't want to cremate him. I don't think he's cremation station, but he just lasts.
Okay, there's Eddie, Sarah, and client. Okay, I'm gonna. I like your answers too, but I want to think of something different. So I'm going to mate Sarah because she's probably a very sensual lover, and I
You
am
know it.
going to. I'm going to date the client because he was very understanding and chill, and also probably would have a good sex life because he was horny too. So, and then I'm also gonna kill
Don't let him
Eddie
get massages.
because yeah, I'll have to take care of that at home.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Eddie just kind of stinks. I don't know. He doesn't have a ton of redeeming qualities. Like he's kind of aloof and I don't know, whatever. He also gets the shit under the stick, but whatever. Okay, so now MVP of this episode. What do you think? Sarah
Yeah.
or Ruth? Sarah?
Ooh, I don't know if I'd give it to Ruth quite yet. I'm sure she's coming up at one of these episodes.
Yeah,
I
no,
like
I
Sarah
think Sarah, she showed Claire, she got Claire to see herself as an artist, which is super important.
and had the uncomfortable
And
conversations.
Mhm. Yeah, she was good. We needed Sarah and she came. So okay, MVP goes to Sarah. And for our blind ranking, quick recap, we have in slot 2, season 2, episode 5, The Invisible Woman. In slot 3, season 2, episode 3, The Plan. Slot 5, season 2, episode 1, In the Game. Slot 6, season 2, episode 2, Out Out Brief Candle. And in slot 8, we have season 2, episode 4, Driving Mr. Moss Back. So now we need to place season 2, episode 6 in place of anger.
I'm putting it as number one.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep. And I have to, but we don't have to do this
Tell me why.
because of the boner hand job situation. Because
Oh, yeah, duh.
we meet Sarah, who's a very pivotal, I feel like, character. Ruth finally has this like growing moment, and there's just a lot that happened. We see a lot with Rico and his side of the family, and like there was just a lot of things going on. And I don't know. I would put it as
Yeah,
number one.
I
The
totally
boner
wasn't even
alone.
thinking about. Yeah, we've been waiting for this episode since we started this. It's been over a year. It has to automatically get number one. So that alone, I agree, lands it in number one. But you're right. Sarah is a really huge character that I think we will continue to enjoy. And this was her introductory episode. And it was pivotal in a lot of ways for the different characters. And yeah, had a really, the death scene itself was kind of dumb, but like the widow and all of that, that was also very like creative and interesting. So yeah, awesome. All right. Well, hopefully the rest of the episodes suck because we're not going to be able to put them in the first. We've got slot 4 and then it goes to 7 and then we have 9 through 13 left. So there's
Make
no
sure you
way
guys
we're going to
give
be.
us a comment. Let us know what you would have put this
Yeah,
blind
what
ranking at.
episode are we like gonna get to that we're gonna be like, fuck, we need to move some things around. Um, but okay. Thank you. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, leave a
Share with your
comment, leave us a
friends.
review, rate us 5 stars, please, and write us a review.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
love
share with your
reading them.
friends. And hopefully we will see you again soon. We'll try to do the next one sooner. This one took us about a month in between, but I think we can, now that we're
We
getting
can
back in the
bang them out.
groove, we'll try to do another one a little sooner. Yeah. Oh,
Great.
I just fell right on my ear. You see that?
Yeah, I thought it was a booger.
Okay. Well, love you. See you next
Bye.
time.